We lost my mother-in-law after a long illness, and of course, I'm not going to in any way cut back on premium play work. But as far as multimedia appearances, that's why I haven't been doing that much lately. Hopefully, we'll get some sense of normalcy as far as my work schedule another week. But that's why. Anyway, big day on offshoreinsiders.com. Late info. I've hit 3 straight in college football. I think it's actually 4 straight. Anyway, 7:30 Eastern Time, Oklahoma Baylor from Big Red. Those of you who know, it's been back to our score phone days, the old 2-minute warning. Been tremendous for winning information and whatnot. And make sure you visit that for the single strongest play in the handicapping industry. Here's some sharp moves for today. Going to have a free pick for you, including, arguably the biggest free pick of the season so far. We'll tell you about it in a moment. No surprise here, the public liking their road favorites. The biggest public moves in terms of percentage of bets today, and this would be what contrarian bettors use this information. The contrarian bettor would say to bet opposite of these, or at least to put a check mark there. There are still a lot of people who are big contrarian bettors. They would say to go with the other side of these. Alabama, Kansas State, Virginia Tech, and Texas. And I do like to reiterate each broadcast, this is based purely on the number of tickets written, where therefore if a $50 bet counts as the same as a $5,000 bet. Contrarian bettors, in fact, believe that small player, the Joey Bag of Donuts, is really the best source for the contrarian information. So, in many cases, they would think that the small bet counts more than the big bet as far as contrarian intel is concerned. The biggest bets in terms of most lopsided in terms of money bet, therefore, obviously a $500 bet would count 5 times as a $100 bet. Well, these are who the sports books are hoping does not cover. Eastern Michigan, Ohio State, and Southern Miss. Again, that's where the big money is. Now, sharp versus square metrics, a.k.a. the pros versus Joes. Obviously, I don't like that term, pros versus Joes, because sharpest players in the world are actually named Joe. Joe Duffy at offshoreinsiders.com. But this is where there's a big gap between where sharps are betting and squares betting. And the theory is bet on these teams. Rice, Georgia State, Northern Illinois, and Duke. Now, keep in mind this sharp information is also posted at joeduffy.net. Critical weather conditions, and as we tell you, the single most important weather intel is wind speed. Once it gets above 15 miles per hour, that becomes significant, and we're talking especially when it comes to the totals. And as I said, at Joe Duffy's Picks, not necessarily my strength is predicting the spread winners and the over-under winners, not always predicting line moves and so-called bet middler, but the truth is, and I'm going to try to return to giving you this information earlier in the week, usually with the early weather reports are moderately accurate, and therefore you can see where the lines are most likely going to go up or down. But Tulane and Temple, 15 miles per hour. Wisconsin, Nebraska, 17. Both Louisiana Monroe versus Georgia Southern and West Virginia Kansas State are at 16 miles per hour. Texas and Iowa State, 15 miles per hour. Then Louisville and NC State at 19 miles per hour. Now here's your free pick for today. Indiana plus the 14.5 against Penn State. And it's probably in my 30-something years. Now, what am I? I've been in, making picks full-time since June 1st, 1988. Was it 31 years, something like that? Probably as strong as a free pick or a non-premium pick. Thought very seriously about making this a premium pick. Famed bubble burst angle has to do with fading teams off of devastating losses. 394-284. Now, the truth is, I have several nuanced versions of the bubble burst. And in some cases, this season hasn't been the best overall. However, the basic theory is the higher they go, the harder they fall. And that is the higher ranked they were, and the later in the season it was, the stronger the play is. This particular version is actually 11-2 the last 13, so despite the bubble burst being so-so this year, not this angle. This angle remains great. Anyway, Indiana plus the 14.5 against Penn State. And again, visit offshoreinsiders.com. Late info. We've got the famed late info play, as we said, Oklahoma and Baylor, and that's a 7:30 Eastern start. Visit offshoreinsiders.com for all the details. Please visit us on social media. If you're not already subscribed to us on Twitter at Offshore Insider. Remember, there's no S there. They have the character limitations, even though the website is Offshore Insiders. On Twitter, we're at Offshore Insider with no S.